A lot I could tell you about what NBC will debut tomorrow night at 9:30, and my guest coming up will tell a lot more, but I'd like to have someone else do the introduction. Oh, Ellen.
There's a show that will be on the air soon, One Big Happy, and you will love it, and I'll tell you why. There's a lesbian in it.
Coming to NBC, two best friends.
You knew I was gay before I did.
You wore a top hat to prom.
One foolproof plan.
What's untraditional about a lesbian and a fighter pilot having a baby?
He is not a fighter pilot. You're ready for this, right?
I can make a commitment.
You never even let a girl stay the night.
It's going to be you, me, and the teeny tiny, I promise.
And then fate stepped in.
I always wanted to jump behind a bar.
Well, get back here then.
This March.
I think I love you.
I might love you too. You got married in Vegas? I'm pregnant! I so admire women who can't find partners having babies all on their own.
It's not immaculate conception.
It's your baby?
I'm gonna be a dad. And I'm a husband.
From executive producer Ellen DeGeneres comes a new comedy about the meaning of family.
Oh my God. It's the heartbeat.
And the relationships that change us.
How would I do on the lesbian market? I don't think I've ever been appraised. You did good. You're really good.
One Big Happy.
So you're the wife?
Oh no, I'm his wife.
Yeah, I'm his lesbian best friend.
She's having his baby.
We all live together.
Now I can see why I tried to kill himself.
Coming this March to NBC.
And now joining us live from Los Angeles and a simulcast exclusive, executive producer Liz Feldman. Liz, welcome in.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. Was Three's Company an influence in making the show?
It was definitely on my mind. I always loved Three's Company growing up. I loved all of the sitcoms from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely it crossed my mind because I knew I was dealing with three lead characters, and that is definitely the ultimate three lead show, and it was a very funny and physically funny show. I think John Ritter was incredible, and I actually do think that Nick Zano has a little bit of the John Ritter in him. He has sort of like this hilarious physical comedy that he brings to the show. So in a way, he almost makes it even more Three's Company than I ever even meant it to be.
In fact, in the clip that we just ran, we see him trying to go over the bar to meet one of the other two main characters, and he sort of is very klutzy in doing so.
Yeah, well, we liked the idea, and Nick Zano, who plays Luke, is a friend of mine, and we talked a lot about his character, and we liked the idea that you can't help the fact that he's a very good-looking guy. He's just like a super handsome dude, and we wanted to sort of play against that, and so we thought it would be kind of refreshing to have this guy who looks like he's got it all together be an absolute klutz. We thought that would be enjoyable, and it is.
Are you and Ellen and everybody involved aiming for a goofy tone?
Are we aiming for a goofy tone? Well, we're definitely aiming for a funny tone. But yeah, I mean, I think we keep it light on purpose. It's a multi-camera comedy. It's there's a broadness to it because we're doing it in front of a live audience, and so. I definitely want this half hour of television to feel good and for you to laugh a lot. And, yeah, I think that probably requires a certain amount of goofiness.
Yeah. I was mentioning goofy as a synonym for broad because you see that each of the characters, or you hear, for those of us on Blog Talk, that each of the characters has sort of a very quirky, funky tendency that comes across as being goofy, either in the way they handle their affairs or the way they react to situations.
Yeah, and maybe that's just a reflection of real life because the show is based on my life. It's based on my relationship with my best friend who is a straight guy. I am a lesbian, and we are. I probably for all intents and purposes pretty silly people, and I wanted to take sort of real life and start from there and create something. That was very fresh and something that you haven't really seen on TV before.
How did you and Ellen get together on this?
Well, I've actually been working with Ellen for about 10 years. I was a writer on her talk show in the early seasons of it. But, truth be told, I've always really looked up to Ellen, just, obviously as another comedian, but also just as a person. I think that she's quite an incredible entertainer and person. And so it was always a dream of mine to work with her. So that was amazing when I got to work on her talk show. And, we really hit it off. And I worked with her on both Oscars. And so we've had sort of a very long and positive relationship. And so when I came up with the idea for One Big Happy, I took it to her production company. And, she signed right on because she liked the idea of it. She liked that it was based on my life. And she thought it was funny.
We've got Liz Feldman. She is the creator and executive producer of One Big Happy, and it begins its run tomorrow night on NBC, 9:30 Eastern Pacific Time. She is live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow. Will be televised. And we are marking our first anniversary as the first and only internet radio program or podcast that is simulcast on the tube. You have a question or comment for Liz? Give us a call, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. And guess what, Liz? We got a call right off the bat. We'll take it. Hello, you're on Tomorrow. Be televised. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Simon, this is Teale. I'm calling from Brooklyn.
And Teale, by the way, is one of the producer directors here at Brooklyn Independent Media. Teale, great to have you along, and Liz is on the line with you.
Hey, Liz, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? By the way, I'm from Brooklyn, so
I know that.
I like you already.
Brooklyn misses you. I'm sure you've written other pilots with lesbian leads. What do you think it is about this pilot that appealed to the network execs to say, okay, let's do it?
That's a great question. I have. This is about probably the 5th pilot I've written that has a lesbian lead character in it, just by virtue of the fact that, I write characters that reflect me, and that's why I kept trying to do that. And, I think maybe... there's like a sort of a magical alchemy that happens to get a show on the air, and I still don't completely understand it. But, I think probably the variety of characters in One Big Happy was appealing to NBC. They definitely wanted to do a show, about people making their own version of family, and that was something I think they wanted to do before I even brought this idea in. So, we had sort of a meeting of the minds on that. And then I think they liked that it was based on my real life, and, that I could write these characters from a real grounded place. And, I think there's sort of like a character on there for everyone. And certainly when we tested it for the audiences, they seem to like, there's a sort of a universality to it. And I think that might have had some part in getting it on the air.
Is the character based all on you, or are there different snippets from other people or is it all invented?
Well, the character of Lizzie is definitely based on me, but then you cast Alicia Cuthbert in the role, and she's going to bring her own sort of magic to it. But yeah, I think, it's sort of almost embarrassing to admit it, because the character is really quite uptight and buttoned up and conservative and kind of a dork, but, those are all things I relate to.
Was it hard casting? Was it hard casting that role, knowing it was pretty much you that you were casting?
It was. It is a really weird thing to make something, fictional out of the truth. And, because that's what it has to become when you turn your life into a sitcom. It just fictionalizes. So you sort of, you let go of I want to find somebody that looks exactly like me. No, I want a gorgeous person who's super adorable and attractive to all people. And we auditioned a bunch of different very talented actresses, but when Alicia's name came up, something in me just sort of, brightened up. I loved her on Happy Endings. I think that she's just a delightful person, and Nick Zano was cast first, and I asked him his opinion about Alicia, and he just had a million amazing things to say about working with her on Happy Endings, and what a great professional, hilarious, lovely person she is in real life. And I put a lot of stock in that. When someone's an actually good person in real life, and I watch them on screen and enjoy them, that's the kind of person you want to work with.
Are you going to continue to do this just out?
I am, yes. I am going to continue to do this just out. A new episode will be up today on our YouTube site, and I believe it's YouTube /TJO with Liz Feldman. And today on the show will be Alicia Cuthbert.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Teale, I got. Go ahead, finish the answer, and then I'll jump in.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that today on the show it will be Alicia and Clea Duvall will be on the show today as well.
All right, Teale, I got to jump back in and be host. You're doing pretty good, by the way, as a talk show host in training. Thanks, Teale, for the call.
Oh,
Appreciate
thank you,
it.
Simon. Simon, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
I
And
love
thank
you both.
Nice to talk to you. Thanks so much.
You too. All right, bye.
Teale Fallon joining us live here in Brooklyn. One of the terrific people at Brooklyn Independent Media that makes this show and everything else at this channel go. Liz, because you're adapting your life into funny TV, how do you know who to cast? What in your gut says, like, this is the person like Alicia that I want to play me, this is the person I want to play the straight person, this is the person I want to play so-and-so?
Well, you sort of hit the nail on the head by just saying the word gut. Casting, especially during pilot season, has to be like a gut decision because you have so little time to decide who you want, especially if you want, somebody with a name. Like Alicia Cuthbert, literally it was a Thursday night at like 10 o'clock. My casting director, Julie Ashton, who's incredible and very talented, has a great eye for these things. She emailed me at 10:30, and just in the subject line it said, "Do you want Alicia Cuthbert for Lizzie? If you want her, you have to make her an offer immediately. She already has another offer. You have to tell me tonight." So it's like literally you have 2 seconds to decide. And I just immediately texted Nick Zano, who was another total gut decision. They wanted to cast the male lead first. NBC came to me with a bunch of names. And when Nick's name came up, there was something inside of me that was like, yes, because he's a friend of mine. I worked with him on Two Broke Girls. He and I have sort of a similar relationship to the two leads in the show, and I just knew that he was going to be able to embody that energy, and I knew that he was funny and that I could work with him. Then Alicia's name comes up. I check in with him. Like I said before, he just had glowing things to say about Alicia. Then I watched her on a bunch of her talk show clips on YouTube, and I just thought she was so likable and real and grounded and funny, and you just cross your fingers and say yes and hope that it works out. And then in terms of the other lead character, who's Kelly Brook, she's playing a very difficult part to cast, which is Prudence, who's this beautiful English free spirit bombshell. And you need to find this like gorgeous, hilarious sort of unicorn of a woman. We saw over 400 women for that part. And when Kelly's tape finally came in, literally in the 11th hour, it was a Saturday night. Our table read was that Monday. I saw her tape, and I just, exhaled for the first time in weeks because I just knew we had found her.
Mm-hmm. This seems to be a big winter for Ellen and her production company, and you as well, because you have this program, you had Ellen's Design Challenge on HGTV. There's also Repeat After Me, which is originally a segment on Ellen's talk show. Now it's on ABC. Why all of a sudden these ideas springing up in a TV series?
That's something you'd have to ask Ellen. She, I think, is interested in, expanding her horizons, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but, I think she knows that she has the ability to turn, people towards great television. And, people listen to her, which is kind of incredible and amazing. And she has this ability to be a tastemaker. And, just in my opinion, I think it's great that she's lending her name and her producing abilities to shows like One Big Happy. Because, a show like ours, would probably have never seen the light of day unless she decided to be the executive producer. So I'm incredibly grateful to her for working with us.
When you decide how much of your life you adapt into One Big Happy, where do you draw the line? Where do you tell you and your writers, no, we're not going here? Even funny.
Well, honestly, it's really just the pilot that is, the story of the pilot that is inspired by my life. In that, I do have a straight guy best friend. We did have a plan to have a baby. And, he did meet and fall in love at first sight with a wonderful woman. And for us in real life, that changed our plans. That sort of started a journey of realizing, maybe we will be having a baby together in real life. But, what's kind of great about television and writing and being a creative person in general is you can take as much as you want from real life and then, sort of make up the rest. So, I took that as the general inspiration. And then, as you'll see in the pilot tomorrow, I took some, creative license and made it what I thought was a more dynamic story. And, that's about where the similarities end, except for the fact that, like, again, the lead character is, pretty much a television version of me. So it becomes really just about what feels authentic to me, in terms of the storytelling. Like, does that feel like, something I would do? Does that feel like something I would say? And, it has to sort of pass the test of, like, does this feel true to me? And if it does, then we'll write about it.
Liz Feldman is joining us this half hour on Will Be Televised. She is the creator and executive producer of One Big Happy. It's NBC's new sitcom with Ellen DeGeneres involved, and it begins tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern Pacific Time. You have a question or comment for Liz, give us the call, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. Liz, talk a little bit more about your blog and your internet radio show. Do you discuss a lot of TV topics and where TV's going?
I have an internet show called This Just Out with Liz Feldman, and it's a talk show I do from my kitchen table, and I like to sort of describe it as lo-fi and high les, because it's very gay, which is a very unapologetically gay talk show where I interview lesbians and people who are of interest to the lesbian community, and it's something I've been doing for 7 years. And it reaches like a lot of people around the world who otherwise would not really have any entertainment or media that is designed for them. So it's a real joy to do it. And, today on the show, we'll have a new episode up in probably just about an hour. I interview Alicia Cuthbert and Clea Duvall.
And what do you think, Liz, about this major trend of we're seeing more diverse television, including more roles and more plot lines involving the gay, the lesbian, the transgender community, whether it is programs like Orange is the New Black, or before that, shows like The L Word, Queer as Folk, and so forth, that really were the trendsetters to make this movement happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, television is a very powerful and very sort of teachable medium. It's a lot of sort of social progress can be seen on TV first. And, I think it's incredible what some of these shows have been able to do. And I mean, like, if you just look at the success of Blackish and Empire, for example, like, obviously, these are shows, that focus on the African-American community, and, that has really resonated with audiences, and not just African-American audiences, but just a wide audience. I think people are thirsty to feel represented on television, and they're hungry to watch things that they feel like reflect their own lives. And, that's very much the motivation, for me to want to do a show like this, is because I'm excited to tell a story that feels real to me, that feels close to me, and that I know, will help people feel represented who don't otherwise get to, watch network television and see a version of themselves.
And Liz, before we let you go, if there was one thing you would like to see happen to bring more women, including women of color, including lesbians, into the television field, what would it be?
I mean, I think maybe the trick is like that we have to tell our own stories. I definitely write from an autobiographical place, and I think when we do that, it resonates. And so I would love for, there to be female storytellers, whether they be directors or writers or producers, but it would be amazing if, more women brought in stories that really reflected their own lives and that came from a place of authenticity. And I think we see those are very often the shows that really resonate. Orange is the New Black is based in reality. It's based on a real woman's life, and Blackish, even Blackish is inspired by the life of Kenya Barris, who created it. And I think when we write from our hearts and our guts, it has a profound resonance with people, and I think that's what we should keep doing.
It was interesting that Shonda Rhimes, who has had tremendous success programming a whole night of television on Thursdays, was at an event, I believe, in Los Angeles. It would be either Paley Fest something, and the one thing she was asked about is, like, are you bringing more diversity to television? She was saying, I was bringing more reality into television, the reality of diversity.
Exactly. We are a very diverse country, and it's the melting pot analogy is tried but true. And there are lots of different types of people in this country. And, you know, certainly there are a lot of gay and lesbian people. There's a lot of LGBTQ, that's a tough one to say, LGBTQ people in general. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we are a viable audience, and, you know, we deserve to have things on television that feel like a fair and entertaining representation of us.
Well, One Big Happy begins tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time on NBC. Check your local listings for the NBC station in your area and follow up with more details online at NBC.com. Liz Feldman, thank you again for joining us. A pleasure all the way. Good luck with the premiere tomorrow night, and hopefully a great run in store for you, your cast and crew.
Thank you so much, and happy anniversary, Simon.
Thank you, Liz. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Liz Feldman joining us live from One Big Happy in Los Angeles.